So before I start this video, I thought I'd introduce the newest member of my family. This here is Little Miss Rogue. And this here is very jealous older dog. Alrighty, so today we are going to do something a little different. Instead of me responding to a video, I'm going to respond to an article. Now the article in question would be a Cosmopolitan article telling us why, if your daughter is white, you should not dress her as Moana. That's right. If your daughter's white, she ain't allowed to dress as the Disney fucking princess. So, let's see why. It's mid-October, which means Halloween is just 2 weeks away. Which means it's way past time to decide on a Halloween costume for your kid. Chances are you have a child that's enamored with all things Disney and wants to be all the princesses. All of them. Especially Moana. Well, see, it should be a great thing for any little girl to want to dress up as Moana. She's a strong female character. She doesn't have any love interests in her movie. She ends up saving the day. And she's also a person of color. Like, why wouldn't any girl want to dress up as an amazing character like that for Halloween? And why would there be a problem with that? The New York Post recently highlighted an article on raceconscious.org about how that's probably not a good choice if your kid is white, and revealed that moms are freaking out over the culturally appropriative costume. Oh yeah, I forgot. As far as Cosmopolitan goes, if you're white, you ain't allowed to have nice things. You have to feel guilty for your skin color, and you have to just cater to everybody else. I also love how this claims that moms are freaking out over this culturally appropriative costume, when number one, cultural appropriation doesn't fucking exist, and number two, I've seen no moms freak out over this. The only things I've seen is moms wondering why the hell Cosmopolitan and all the SJWs are trying to ruin Halloween for their kids. Needless to say, the Post's coverage has only amplified the debate around what does and doesn't constitute cultural appropriation. Okay, most cases of cultural appropriation that I hear of are actually just a bunch of SJWs that are getting offended on behalf of cultures that don't give a shit. Last year, Disney came under fire for its Maui costume, which depicted the demigod's painted brown skin. Disney! How could you make a costume that looks exactly like your character? Skin. The company ultimately pulled the costume in response to the uproar, telling Entertainment Weekly in a statement that the team behind Moana has taken great care to respect the cultures of the Pacific Islands that inspired the film. And we regret that the Maui costume has offended some. Okay, I'm willing to bet that there ain't even any Polynesians that actually got offended by the costume. I bet it was just a bunch of whiny SJWs that got all pissed off because they naturally know that their lives aren't going to amount to jack shit because they wasted all their time in gender studies classes, and now they are never satisfied unless they're making somebody feel guilty about something. The Maui question may have been settled, but this year there are plenty of tweets out there asking the internet, and Lin-Manuel Miranda, if it's okay to dress as Moana for Halloween. And the answer is yes. It is perfectly okay to dress your daughter up as Moana if that's what she so pleases, no matter what her race is. And I don't know who the hell this person is that they just referenced, but they are not the authority on whether or not it's okay to do something with your kids. That is up to you, the parents. So if your kid wants to dress as Moana, let him dress as Moana. The original article, written by Sachi Ferris, discusses how her white daughter was torn between dressing as Elsa from Frozen or the titular character from Moana. Ferris expressed his concern that while an Elsa costume might reinforce notions of white privilege, dressing up as Moana is essentially cultural appropriation, the act of reducing someone's culture to stereotypes and thereby belittling it. Though Ferris puzzles over how one might wear a Moana costume respectfully, she ultimately decides it isn't a good idea. Okay, number one, if you go by that logic, believing that bullshit lie of white privilege, then you are going to have a miserable life because now your daughter can't dress up as fucking anything. She might as well just stay the fuck home and locked up in her room. Ugh. Also, as far as how would you wear a Moana costume respectfully, just wear the costume. Don't walk around making fun of Moana for being brown-skinned or whatever. Just wear the damn costume respectfully. And it is not cultural appropriation. She is wearing the costume to appreciate the character of Moana, which is appreciating the culture of the Polynesians, of which Moana came from. That is not belittling or demeaning the culture. That is respecting it. There is a huge difference between that and cultural appropriation. Which basically, cultural appropriation, by that definition, is just another word for being a dick. At this point, you might be saying something like, "But I dressed up as Jasmine as a child, and I'm not racist." Or, "It's just a Halloween costume. Please chill the fuck out." Which, if you said the latter, congratulations, you're not an idiot. But one of the best things about time is that it moves forward. You should too. You can, and should, strive to be better than you were 10, 20, or 30 years ago. Or, let's do what we did 10, 20, 30 years ago, and not be offended by fucking everything and let the kids enjoy their holiday. How about that? If you missed the mark when you were younger, maybe think about using this Halloween as an opportunity to teach your kids about the importance of cultural sensitivity. If your child's dream costume feels questionable, don't just throw up your hands and hand over your credit card. Better idea. Don't question your kid's Halloween costume. As long as they're not dressing up as Adolf Hitler, I don't think anybody's going to care what they're dressed like. And if they do, stand up for your kid and tell that person to screw off. You're the parent here, and the onus of what your child wears falls on you. If your kid wears a racist costume, you're kind of wearing it too. Fine with me. Hell, I'm tempted to go out as a black Muslim Jesus carrying Maui's magical fish hook just to piss off all you social justice warriors. Recognize this. Moana is a really special character to young girls of Polynesian descent who have never seen a Disney princess who looks just like them. Just like how Tiana from The Princess and the Frog likely resonated with young black women who had waited decades to see themselves represented. Well, that's true, and I'm happy for them. But why the fuck does that mean that white girls need to stay away from the costume? Haven't you heard that sharing is caring? White girls have plenty of princesses to choose from. There's Belle, Ariel, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. You get the idea. If your Caucasian son or daughter doesn't get to be exactly what they wanted for Halloween, encourage them to take a step back and realize that they're in a wash in privileges that the real Moanas and Tianas of the world will likely never see. Because the world is full of racist assholes. Okay, I have no problem with teaching cultural sensitivity or whatever, but here's the thing. If you teach your kids that they need to feel guilty because they have privileges just because they're white, you're a shitty parent. There's no such thing as white privilege, and the Moanas and Tianas of the world will get to experience the privileges that you claim that white people have. It's called work your ass off and earn what you want in your life. And also, yes, I know that there are racist assholes in the world. I'm sorry, but the best defense against that is to teach your kids how to defend themselves against these racist assholes, because they will always exist. And those assholes are becoming even more empowered. Our president is a hate group apologist who tries to ban refugees from seeking asylum in our country, simply because of their faith. Meanwhile, black Americans continue to be killed by police, and anti-Semitic voices feel louder and more powerful than they have in decades. You just had to get the Trump bash in there, because you guys can't virtue signal without trashing the President of the United States. So what does this have to do with the seemingly innocent princess costume? Absolutely nothing. Pretty much everything. It's important to align with and stand up for people of color and minorities. And a key part of that is showing respect for their cultures. To pretend to be a racial, ethnic, or religious minority when you're not makes light of their history. and reinforces a deeply problematic power dynamic, wherein white people use, then discard, pieces of cultures they've subjugated for centuries just because they can. Okay, this paragraph is basically just accusing us of more cultural appropriation and trying to explain why it's bad. Well, let me argue at this point. If you're going that route, then we shouldn't celebrate Halloween altogether, because it was originally an Irish pagan holiday. So fuck off. To clarify, no one is telling you to ban your child from belting out Moana songs in your living room. They're good songs. Moana is a powerful, phenomenal Disney heroine who relies on more than just her CGI perfection to save the day. But there's still no better time than when a kid is in their formative years to teach them that it's not okay to mock other people's cultures. Dressing as Moana is not mocking the culture. Dressing as Moana is embracing the character and showing that you appreciate the character, which therefore shows that you appreciate the culture. So how is dressing as Moana a bad thing? That's the sort of attitude that will ultimately bleed the way they behave and think as they get older. Do they respect the personhood of those unlike themselves, or is their only concern doing whatever they think is fun? For what it's worth, some person whose name I can't pronounce suggests using a kid's desire to be Moana or Maui is an opportunity to teach them about actual Polynesian culture. I don't disagree with this point, but that's not a reason to forbid the kids from wearing the costume. She concedes that she understands why kids would want to dress as Moana, but instead suggests that they make their own outfits without attempting to recreate designs they think are Polynesian. After all, she writes, my culture is not a costume. Or, just ignore this person because she doesn't speak for the entire Polynesian culture, and just go buy a Moana costume from the fucking Halloween store. You can get them for $10 at Walmart. Halloween costume is a small, easy way to introduce these issues in a way that a child's yet to be fully brain can process. Yep, you saw that. This journalist said yet to be fully brain. Whatever the fuck that means. Process. This isn't about putting a damper on your kid's creativity. It's about exercising sensitivity towards anyone who doesn't get to choose how the world at large sizes them up. Whether or not your kids get that is up to you. Okay, no, that is putting a damper on their creativity. Because you are telling kids that they're not allowed to be creative and appreciate cultures aside from their own just because they're white. That, my friends, is racism. And I'm going to say, as a dad myself to a beautiful little girl who is white, if she wants to dress up as Moana for Halloween, I'm going to fucking let her. I'm not going to let some dirty old ragger in SJW or anybody that has this idea that they're allowed to police thought to tell me what my daughter is allowed to dress as. It's not your fucking choice, and you are probably not even a part of the culture that you claim is being offended by this. But anyway, I'm going to sum up this thing by saying, dress however you want for Halloween. And if you're some kind of snowflake that's going to get all pissed off because somebody dresses up in a different culture during Halloween, especially if you're not part of that culture, stay the fuck home, let us have fun, and stop ruining our lives. Just because your life is sad and pathetic doesn't mean you need to fuck up everybody else's holiday. So screw off. But anyway, this one was a little different. It's kind of a pain in the ass to put together, but I think it was worth it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. I do this stuff, I do trucking training videos, and I will probably soon start doing some comedy skits. Just wait until I get home and have some friends to help me film a few of these. But anyway, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.